just right.
Is this the real me?
Don't you think it's time things were different?
Hello.
I'm willing to go further than anyone.
I go to America!
Do I have your attention?
Hello, everyone, and welcome and thank you for joining us on our live chat with Prime Video Scientists. My name is Tammy Ledwig, and I'm going to be your moderator today. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be with us on Twitch. Please remember that we regularly host these events, so you can follow up with us on our notification page for future events. We also received a lot of great questions from everyone, so thank you again for submitting those. We're going to be taking the questions during the event as well, so please feel free to post your questions in the chat on Twitch. And once we get through our pre-submitted questions, we'll go to those live questions as well. With that said, I'd like to introduce you to all of our speakers today. We have Ali, Caren, Raffay, and Yongjun. Each of them are going to tell us a little bit more about who they are, what they do in Prime Video, what excites them the most about the future of Prime Video, and a fun fact. Ali, why don't you kick us off?
Sure, thanks. My name is Ali Roshan Ghias. I'm an applied science manager in Prime Video personalization team. I joined Amazon around 6 years ago after my postdoc at Columbia University. My team comprises of scientists who work on a diverse set of problems such as customer item relevance, item relevance, and page composition. And what I'm excited about the future of Prime Video is that we are building models that scale worldwide and serve diverse tastes of users from across the globe. And that's a really big challenge that I'm really excited about. The fun fact is that I'm really exhausted right now as I have a 2-month-old that doesn't sleep much at night, so he keeps me awake. But it's all fun. It's all good.
I love how you're able to say no sleep is a fun fact. That's awesome. Caren, would you mind going next?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Caren Chen, and I'm a senior applied scientist with Prime Video. My team built end-to-end system via computer vision and machine learning to help customers discover more and better content that Prime Video offers. I'm excited for my current job because I get to apply the state-of-art technology to solve real-life problems while working with all the great people around me that have the same passion. When I'm not working, I enjoy hiking with my family and my dog. As you know, Seattle has thousands of beautiful trails. So if you like to explore the nature as me, I think Seattle is here to welcome you.
I'm the same way, Caren. I'm a huge hiker, and it's a good way to exhaust the family as well, especially during COVID. Raffay, would you mind going next? Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. So, hi everyone. My name is Raffay Hamid. I'm a principal applied scientist in Prime Video. And as a principal scientist, I work in the areas of computer vision and machine learning. For those of you who don't know, computer vision is about using algorithms and data to learn models that can then understand what's going on in images and video. I collaborate with a lot of people across Prime Video, but my immediate org that I am sitting in is called Video Compliance and Classification. So we use computer vision and machine learning to build models that can predict what type of content is going on so that we can we can show that content to the right audience. And particularly, we deal a lot with sensitive activities, age-appropriate activities to ensure that the trust that our customers put in us is maintained. And so I'm most excited about Prime Video's future because I know that Prime Video is super committed to customer impact, and it allows me to use my technical background to make that impact in a very efficient way and hands-on way. And fun fact, so I'm in similar boat as Ali. We've had our second child, a daughter, almost 5.5 months ago. So I'm sleeping more than Ali seems to be sleeping. But most of my fun these days is with my family and kids. And before COVID era started, I used to play competitive squash. Seattle is a great place to play squash. So yeah, if you're interested in squash, among other things, Seattle is a great place to be.
I love that fact. I did not know that about you, Raffay. And then Ollie, you're next, please.
I think it's
Yongjun.
Yeah. So
Oh,
hi.
I'm sorry, Yongjun. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go for it.
Sure. Hi, this is Yongjun Wu, Senior PE in Playback Organization in Prime Video. I'm working on video playback and delivery end-to-end, from camera to screen, about both scientific and engineering efforts. I have been Prime Video for about 5.5 years. When I joined Prime Video, there was only one traditional business and tech pillar, video on demand. At that time, Prime Video was a fairly small organization as a whole. There were only 2 principal engineers in Prime Video. In the past 5 years, we expanded our business into live streaming, including both live linear channels and live events, and then video ads in both video on demand and live streaming. The past 5 years are the fast-growing period for Prime Video. I'm really glad and proud that I'm part of the growth, and we are still fast-growing now and in the future in all dimensions. My fun fact is that engineer thinks I'm a scientist, but scientists thinks I'm an engineer. I'm a mix of both.
Awesome, Yongjun. Thank you for that. So we are going to jump into our live Q&A, everybody. And we're going to start actually with the pre-submitted questions. So the first question for everybody, we would love to know, what are you most proud of that your teams are driving? And what have you created for your customer that you are most proud of? Yongjun, why don't you kick us off here?
Sure. Like I mentioned in my short intro, I'm most proud that my teams expanded Prime Video's business into a few new areas, live streaming, including both live linear channels and live events, such as EPL, TNF, and NBA, and the video ads in both live streaming and video on demand. All the work and the projects from my teams enabled more scenarios for customers to enjoy video experiences from Prime Video. In the future, coming very soon, a multi-exclusive deal of TNF between National Football League and Prime Video will have 30 million concurrent viewers across tens of thousands device types. There will be lots of new challenges coming soon, which need expertise in video areas, including computer vision and machine learning, to support seamless video playback experiences for Prime Video customers. Obviously, we need innovative solutions there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Raffay, would you mind answering this question next?
Sure, happy to, Tammy. So yeah, building on essentially what Yongjun was saying, right? So I work in the area of computer vision and machine learning, and fundamentally it's applied towards the automatic understanding of our content. And video understanding is really a central part of a whole wide spectrum of the use cases that we are making for our customers. So starting from ingestion all the way to playback, computer vision and machine learning are a fundamental part of what we do every day for those set of use cases. For example, if you start with ingestion, looking at what point should we insert ads that could be minimally disruptive to our customers, right? You need to know at what point are the sort of the boundaries of the scene that are actually changing. Similarly, as I mentioned before, which parts of content contain sensitive activities or age-appropriate activities, to which part of the of the video contain activities that are related to maybe car chase scenes, so that we can show them to people who like car chases versus not, all the way to live, how many bits should we put to which part of the scene to be able to make a good experience for our customers. So sort of that is sort of the type of things that I spend my day doing, and that's the thing that I'm most excited about to be delivering for our customers.
Wonderful. Caren, would you mind following up now? That would be great.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Yongjun and Raffay. I cannot agree with you both anymore. I think from my perspective, just to add on top of that, I'm very proud of my work because I feel like my team is very customer obsessed, and we always work backward from how to improve our customers' experience with Prime Video. For instance, with large number of movie and TV shows available nowadays, it can be very time consuming for our customer to discover the content that best meet their needs. In order to solve this pain point, we generate short form previews ranging from 30 seconds to 1 minute long and featuring various aspects of a movie and a TV show, such as different characters, genres, mood, and storyline. And we then autoplay these previews so that we can help customer to make a faster and a more informed choice on what to stream. So to put in short, I think I'm very proud that I get to see the actual impact of my work on customer satisfaction and engagement with Prime Video.
Great. Thank you, Caren. And then finally, Ali, if you could let us know, that would be great.
Sure. So in the space of personalization, we historically, we've been using a lot of customer behavior to drive our recommendations. So lots of collaborative filtering algorithms, if you guys are familiar with. In our space, we've seen that more and more we need to take in more signals, such as like the title, metadata, title, the content of the title, and we really I'm really proud of like the way that our team is using them very in great ways, so that we can serve our customers better, we can find better content for the user, and show more relevant titles for our users.
Great. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate your thoughtful responses to that first question. Let's go to the second pre-submitted question. This is an interesting one. What is one of the biggest challenges your teams are currently facing? Ali, would you actually mind kicking us off here?
Sure. So one of the biggest challenges that we have in the space of recommender systems is the topic of parity and fairness for all users. So this is especially pronounced these days in the form of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the fact is that like we serve a huge variety of users in every marketplace that we're in and across the globe, the people with different backgrounds, different tastes, and making sure that our algorithms are not biased by the majority of people is a huge challenge that we are facing, not only in Prime Video, but across in the recommender systems. And as we are serving a global slate of users, we do need to take this issue very seriously, and we're working on it. And as a matter of fact, I would say that is probably one of the largest problems that we face in this space.
Great, thank you. Yongjun, same question for you. What is one of the biggest challenges your team is currently facing?
Sure. To me, Prime Video have more and more contents, serving more and more customers through the limited capacity of internet infrastructure. As we all know that Prime Video have more than 175 million customers right now. How can we make good video smaller and small videos look better is always one of the biggest challenge in Prime Video. We have to utilize computer vision and machine learning algorithm to spend each bit at right place and provide a right visual quality on tens of thousands device types for customers at any location in the world and any time, of course. We've seen these video playback experiences.
Wonderful, Yongjun. I love that we're getting more content, so I really appreciate your team working on all of that visual quality. Raffay, same question for you, please.
Yeah, absolutely. And building on what Yongjun is mentioning, we are getting more content, which is great. And at the same time, the diversity of topics that we are getting in this content is also very high. The places in which this content is being filmed is getting more and more varied. So essentially, what the effect that is happening on computer vision algorithms from that perspective is that we need more and more training labels to be able to train more accurate models so that we can predict when we see a scene or a shot. And so the biggest technical challenge, when I speak purely technically, is the acquisition of these labels. And acquiring these labels is part of it. Quality assurance of these labels is another part of it. There is a whole life cycle associated to these labels, right? So given the scale at which we operate, it is really important for us to come up with techniques that enable us to build statistical models that are not so label hungry. So we've been working actively in that area. And in fact, one of our most recent pieces of work in that area that uses this thing called self-supervised learning, which is much more label efficient way to learn models. We just recently published it in CVPR 2021, and essentially it's for the downstream task of scene boundary detection. When does a scene change from one scene to another scene? And in fact, so that's one example of how we're using cutting edge technology to overcome that label acquisition and maintenance challenge. And I think we have a video set of results for this work that we'd like to show to our audience. And just to set it up, these are some example scenarios of different types of scenes that are changing from one scene to another that our algorithm was able to detect correctly, just to give you a sense of what this type of work is all about. So with that in mind, let's play the video, please.
Drop a grenade in that pool. Let's move. Frag out. Street's clear.
Nah, but I know she was having trouble with them.
Hey, Nora, you got a minute?
Sure, honey, what's up?
I was wondering if you know of any other cleaning gigs.
Well, what about that house you got?
It's getting weird there.
So the jungle juice is just about started.
He's just expressing his opinion.
No, it's not opinion. It's like
It's not.
I have
Your
to
papa
guide
doesn't
you.
do opinions. He tells you how it has to be.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for sharing that video with us, Raffay. It makes me excited to be part of Prime Video right now and what we're doing. Caren, if you wouldn't mind, I would love for you to answer that same question. What is one of the biggest challenges your team is currently facing?
Sure. And also, yeah, thank you, Raffay, for the video. This is very engaging. Talking about engaging, it reminds me of one of the biggest challenges that our team is facing. As I mentioned earlier, our team continuously generate engaging short-form previews so that we can use it to promote a movie or TV show. However, the definition of engaging can be vague and it can be hard. On the one hand, engaging can be widely different depending on the content itself, like a motion movie versus sports versus documentary. They can all have very different engaging scenes as defined. On the other hand, depending on who the customer is, one video can mean very engaging, but the other customer may think it's not interesting at all. Like, take me as an example. If I was I was shown like a preview of movie Mission Impossible, it will convince me to watch this movie when the short form previews is featuring my favorite actor of Tom Cruise in it, versus my friend may care more about scenes just highlighting actions such as car chasing or explosions. So this all this diversity and the variations in defining engaging is a continuing and challenging for our team. And we are adopting different technology and try to generate more and more engaging short form previews to help our customer to discover the new content.
Wonderful, Caren. Thank you so much for that. Up next, this is a great question as well. I would love to get everybody's thoughts around this one. As a scientist in Prime Video, what are the day-to-day projects and problems you would work on? We understand content delivery is an aspect, but would love for you to go deeper into other parts. Raffay, would you mind kicking off this question for us?
Sure, happy to, Tammy. So let's see. I think that I, as a principal scientist, I spend a lot of my time on the technical side of the story. Everything from modeling to training, deployment, maintenance, all those good things. But at the same time, a large part of my days are also spent on thinking about and brainstorming on new initiatives. What are the strategic initiatives that Prime Video, we call it PV inside of Prime Video, we invest in, working with my peers, my seniors to figure that part out. Also, I spend a good amount of my time in hiring, more talent, which we need in computer vision and machine learning, because those are my expertise. So help the organization out from that perspective, and something that is very dear and near to me, which is mentorship. Once we have hired somebody, how do we advise them to deliver at their best possible level, and also go through the growth that we like everyone to go through at Amazon. So those are some of the big buckets that I would bin my day-to-day time in. Yeah.
Wonderful. That's great. Yongjun, would you mind taking this question next?
Sure. Thanks, Raffay, for the introduction of his day-to-day work. For me, I'm working on video playback delivery end-to-end, from camera to screen. I can apply my expertise and experiences in my daily work all the time. There are interesting scientific and engineering topics from different projects that require deep dives and analysis in math, or require comprehensive multimedia background. Solutions to challenging topics and projects from playback delivery provide opportunities for me to educate and grow other engineers across Amazon as well. As a senior PE, I'm working on both horizontally across multiple organizations to drive org-level initiatives and projects, and vertically on thorny and long-pending issues with individual engineers, successfully delivering impactful results to customers. When there are questions on ambiguous topics, I wrote tutorials that help grow the expertise of other engineers and help them work independently on similar topics. I'm also leading the interstellar research program arising from challenging topics in Prime Video, collaborating with universities and professors. For example, we have a multi-year research contract between UT Austin and Prime Video about video quality evaluation and prediction in live sports, all based on computer vision and machine learning. My day-to-day work is shifting among those interesting initiatives and challenges coming from all dimensions.
Wonderful, Yongjun. Thank you so much for that. Caren, same question for you. What are the day-to-day projects and problems you're working on?
Sure. Yeah, I think I echo what Yongjun has and Raffay has just talked about. And for me, my day-to-day activity also changes over time. I remember when I first joined my team, it was a relatively small organization and with limited scope. So at that time, my main focus is to build machine learning models so that we can promote movie and TV shows that are produced by Amazon Studios. So that was then. Later on, as our team expand, my day-to-day work also expand accordingly, that we start to include computer vision in my day-to-day work, because we need to enlarge the inventory of the short form previews that we can cover all of the movie and the TV that the entire Prime Video catalog offers. So by then, my work actually is more balanced between computer vision and the machine learning. And in addition to daily model building work, I'm also involved heavily in science vision and product roadmap discussion, because this is the time when I collaborate very closely with our product leadership, with our engineering team, and we get to work and think and dream big together.
Wonderful, Caren. Thank you. And then Ollie, same question for you.
Sure. So as a science manager in Prime Video, one of the things that I do very regularly is reaching out across Amazon. We have a very diverse set of teams at Amazon, as you know, from retail, Amazon.com, to books, to Kindle, music, Twitch. So we have a lot of efforts going on in personalization. So one of the things that I do is reaching out across teams to learn about these efforts and kind of cross-pollinate, if you like, between these teams and bring the learning to my team and share the learnings from our team with others. That's one of the great things actually that I found about Prime Video. That enables us to scale more than the number of people that we have.
Wonderful, Ollie. Thank you for that. All right, folks, let's jump to the next question. What keeps you motivated in your role and just working with Prime Video in general? Yongjun, could you take this one first, please?
Sure. As a senior principal engineer, I have the opportunity to set a technical vision, drive broad and impactful initiatives, and dive deep into long-pending issues. Given the growth of Prime Video and other multimedia-related organizations in Amazon, there are always interesting challenges to be solved. Moreover, I can see my ideas turning true from math equation on the paper to source codes and then customer-facing features directly in video playback. That gives me a sense of success and satisfaction. On the other hand, I'm always an active educator for junior engineers, really interested in the growth of next-generation tech experts. With my tutorials and educational talk, I'm glad to see the success of young generation engineers in Amazon through my education. That makes me feel really great.
Wonderful. Raffay, if you wouldn't mind the same question, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So I share a lot of the sentiment that was mentioned by Yongjun. I think there are two big parts of it that keeps me motivated, at least two. But the big ones are you know essentially Prime Video provides me with a very tight loop of coming up with novel solutions to challenging problems and seeing their impact on the customer. I think it's one of the most efficient ways that I've seen any organization do at least in my career, and I've done a ton of learning ever since I've joined Prime Video. So that learning and that visibility to the impact really keeps me motivated. And secondly, I would say more from a technical perspective, we've talked a lot about our sort of very large video catalog, right? And also the challenges of labels and the cutting edge deep learning models, etc. So I think we are at a confluence of multiple things, like large amounts of unlabeled data, this challenge of having very large amounts of labeled data to then train traditional models, and how do we solve that? And so the ecosystem, both in terms of data availability and compute availability, that Prime Video offers me and the organizations that I collaborate with, that then facilitate us being able to push the envelope in deep learning, machine learning, computer vision, etc. That is something from a technological perspective that I really look forward to. So those would be two of the top things, although there are many more things that keep me motivated, but those are the top ones.
Wonderful, Raffay. Thank you so much for that. Caren, I'd love to hear from you on this one. What keeps you motivated in your role and working within Prime Video in general?
Sure. Thank you, Tammy. So for me, in addition to what my colleagues has already mentioned, I think a couple of things motivate me. One is the mentorship. Actually, to talk more broad, it's more the science community, the culture in Amazon that motivate me. So talking about the science community, we have a bunch of resources. So we have the mentorship program, and I love the mentorship program because I can find the mentor that in specific domain area that very expertise on that, and I can learn a lot from my mentor. And at the same time, I can also contribute to this science community by being the mentor for other scientists. So it's a two-way program, which I feel very helpful to me. And at the same time, we also have the reading group in the science community that we bunch of scientists will gather together, and we find some latest paper that we think that we want to try and adopt in our real world problem. That's also something that motivates me, because when people sit together and learn together, the sparks usually come out of it. Finally, we have Amazon Machine Learning University that not only that we can learn all the latest techniques from those 6-week intensive courses, we also can be the teacher and teach at the Machine Learning University, which is something I did and enjoy a lot. So that's a bunch of things that motivate me.
I love that. I just love hearing about all the growth opportunities. It's awesome, Caren. Thank you so much. This next question is near and dear from me, since I'm in recruiting. For someone looking to join your team, what skill sets are required, and what advice would you give to somebody interviewing? Raffay, I would love for you to kick this one off.
Sure, Tammy, happy to. So I would say that obviously we are looking for folks who can contribute on the technical front. So at least from a computer vision, machine learning perspective, I can speak that folks should prepare from a technological perspective. Be able to dive deep on the problem, be very familiar with the practical implications of the solutions that they come up with, because Amazon is an extremely practical, customer-focused, customer-obsessed company. So those parts are very important. But I want to also highlight the importance of something that some of the technologists usually don't think of when they're thinking about interviewing. And at least at Amazon, it's given a lot of importance, which is your attitude towards just general problem solving and your leadership principles. And so I would strongly advise and recommend people who are considering to interview in any organization in Amazon to really have a very humble attitude, be open to being provided feedback, be willing to take feedback in a very constructive way, try not to have any chip on your shoulders, etc. So I think your attitude is really going to take you a long way. And one last thing I want to say is that if all these things are difficult to remember for somebody, I'd give you a very simple rule of thumb that I have tried to use in my career and always try to preach about it, which is try to think like a founder. Like don't try to think like an employee, but rather think like a founder. When you do that and you truly do that, there will be a fundamental shift in how you perceive everything and how you view everything, and then ownership and all the rest of the good things will come very naturally. So yeah, that will be some of my advice to the folks who are thinking about it.
Great advice, Raffay. Yongjun, I would love to hear more about your advice here.
Thanks, Raffay, for all the insightful suggestions. To add on top of that, I would like to emphasize that thinking process and the mindset are super important, besides existing skill sets, which are also very important, of course. I would suggest that candidates should really take a look on the Amazon leadership principles and internalize them. I often see that some candidates have pretty good background and expertise, but didn't pass the screen of Amazon leadership principles. In my organization about video playback and delivery, we need talents in all the dimensions and areas of video streaming, compression, networking, video processing, computer vision, and machine learning. So don't worry, we have openings in all different areas. We are always welcome to apply.
Wonderful. Thank you, Yongjun. And then Ali, same question for you, please.
Sure. So as Yongjun said, we have a variety of problems in Prime Video. Anything from computer vision to render systems, NLP, you name it. So what I'm looking for a candidate is actually the interest in the space and the problems that we have. So being interested to work with recommender system problems and solve this specific problem for the users, and being motivated by the customer data and improving the customer experience, I think it's a big plus. On top of that, kind of general thing that I'm looking for is the critical thinking. So how to solve a vague problem and how to kind of break it down to smaller blocks and how to tackle that. And in the end, I would add that curiosity is another factor that it would be very desirable in a scientist, someone who asks questions, who dives deep and tries to find all the different things that are relevant to the problem and tackles different problems. I would say these three things are definitely standing out, apart from all the things that everyone else mentioned.
Awesome, Ali. And then Caren, I would love to hear from you.
Yeah, my colleagues already gave a very comprehensive list. I think maybe I just have one thing to add on top of that. That is based on my own experience. I think the team collaboration is also very important here, because no matter what model you will work on, you will work very closely with your upstream and downstream, like a product team, engineering team. So it will make your career more successful if you have a good team collaboration spirit. And lastly, of course, if you join Prime Video, I hope you also like to stream movie and TV. So it will make your job more enjoyable.
It's definitely a perk, and it's good to be passionate about the space. I agree. Thank you all so much for answering those pre-submitted questions. I really appreciate it. Up next, we're going to go to all of our live questions. For everybody that's viewing, please just know we're going to do our best to get through all of these questions. If a question does require us to share something confidential, though, we will have to skip that question. So just bear with us as we're starting to go through, and I'm reading into these questions that we have right now. We had a question in regards to some of the difference in roles. Wanted to understand a little bit more about what the different roles look like. For example, how would you look at a principal scientist, and how would that differ from, let's say, a senior applied scientist? I'm not sure does anybody want to take that?
I guess, excuse me, I guess I can take a swing at it, and then other folks can join in. So let's take a step back, and we can talk about the differences between principal or senior applied scientists a little bit, but essentially the way different roles are defined is based on their scope and the influence that we are looking for them to have within a team or an org, etc. So also these definitions are not necessarily set in stone. They can vary a little bit across different orgs, but essentially, directionally at least, they're pretty consistent across Amazon. Going to the specifics of this question, difference between principal and senior applied scientist, it's more about the scope. So the scope at which the senior applied scientist is required to operate is a certain level, and then a principal applied scientist is supposed to perform and influence multiple senior scientists, and then lastly, a senior principal like Yongjun is required to influence pretty much across the org. So just the radius of influence is higher. From a technological perspective, also that reflects into the type of stuff that you end up spending most of your time at. So generally, a senior applied scientist, and Caren can keep me honest here, would get the opportunity to dive deeper into the details a little bit more than generally a principal applied scientist, especially if it's me, who would need to be at a slightly higher level of detail, just because the breadth needs to be higher. Although that said, there are occasions where the more senior folks, like principal or senior principals, are required to really dive down into very nitty-gritty details for very critical projects, which are like a step function, which can make a step function difference. Also, the impact is from a mentorship scope perspective. Again, generally at a senior level, we expect our scientists to mentor folks who are within their team, or at a director level perhaps. But at a principal and even more senior principal level, you're required to actually develop more processes that can stand the test of time a little bit more, that can have a little bit more broader and resounding impact when it comes to mentorship. So usually that requires scaling through processes. So those are some of the thoughts that come to my mind. I'd like to open it up to other folks to add their thoughts, and especially, everybody, please correct me as needed. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Raffay. I think you're absolutely right. I agree with what you just talked about. I totally agree that sometimes the boundary of senior applied scientists and principal applied scientists, or even different roles in Amazon, is not that clear, clear bounded, right? And the good thing is it leaves a lot of flexibility for us to reach out and extend our existing responsibility, which is very good. Talking about senior applied scientist, which I am, I feel like my work is very hands-on. Like I get to work with data every day, and which I like a lot. And So as Rafi mentioned, a lot of hands-on, and I think I make a lot of impact within org. For example, versus principal applying scientist, they are more they are looked up so that they can make impact cross orgs. I actually have been working with Raffay on a couple of projects, and I do see Raffay hands-on a lot as well. So this is just some general guideline, but in terms of specific project, there's no such clear-cut lines at all.
So Rafi and Caren presented lots of insightful details. So I'll add a bit more, pretty short. So there are always opportunities to grow, given the growth of Prime Video. For example, live stream expanded its scope and impact on Prime Video business and the customer experiences. So we started live linear channels back in 2015 and invest heavily on live sports back in 2017. After that, it's really exponential growth in the past 5 years. So the scope and the impact for someone to join may change as time goes by. For example, now I have seen a couple of senior applied scientists or video specialists joined back in 2015, 2016, and their scope and impact increase incrementally. And obviously, they have opportunity to grow, and soon they become principal applied scientist or video specialist. That's the level of growth and opportunities in Prime Video.
Thank you so much, Yongjun. And I would just say, from somebody that is constantly hiring for these roles and seeing our team work, I wouldn't necessarily, once you're part of Amazon, we're not necessarily title centric. I think a lot of it has to do with the work, the impact. So I would say if there's a role that you're interested in, look at the title, but really be sure to have a conversation with a hiring manager, somebody from the team, the recruiter, to learn more about what the role is truly doing and what your impact is going to be. And that'll help drive your decision on, if you're interested or not. Up next, you guys, we have, this question is a little broad, so let's kind of see how we want to dive in here and tell me if we do need to skip it. But the question is, I'm curious to learn about all the different titles you have.
I can take a crack at it. So so Amazon actually offers one of the probably most diverse and kind of content across all streaming services. And I can talk about a few of them, and I let others chime in for the rest. So one of the biggest catalog content that we have is Prime movies and Prime shows that are free for Prime users to watch. Another one is the catalog that the customers can rent and or buy, and that is actually a huge catalog of a lot of older and newer titles that come into the system. And lastly, I wanted to mention the ad-supported content, which is IMDb TV, which is a lot of great movies, great titles, which are supported with some ads. And are free for the users to watch.
Thank you for that, Ali. We really appreciate that insight. And as I said, I'm going to ask some questions. So for whatever reason, if we can't answer them, you all please let me know. This is an interesting one, actually. As a viewer, how can I impact recommendations and personalization?
Yeah, I can go again and let the others continue, since I work in the recommendation space. So I would say that the biggest factor that would drive your whatever you see on Prime Video is your watch history and content that you interact with. So those are the biggest drivers of content that is shown to the viewer. So the more you stream, the more we know what you like, and the more you will impact the recommendations that you would see.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Ali just mentioned. On top of that, I think as a viewer, you can also impact the recommendation by your reaction to our prior recommendation to you. So, for instance, as you interact with Prime Video, we will recommend something to you, and whether or not you add it to the watch list or you stream the title we recommend afterward, that will help us to reinforce our recommendation system on our side. So our goal is always to continuously serve something that we think will better fit your streaming taste. In addition, we also consider like what device you are using and at the time of the day, the day of the week you stream. So all of this valuable inputs are provided by the viewers, and we will take it and improve our recommendation system.
Thank you, Caren. Really appreciate your information and just what you're sharing with some of these questions. And all of you, thank you so much for these details. Raffay, I feel like this next one is a good question for you to kick off. What do you feel are some of the biggest differences in researching an industry where there's emphasis on customer experience versus researching in academia?
Sure, Tammy, happy to answer. So, yeah, I think that at least from a computer vision and machine learning perspective, I feel like both academia and industrial research have value, and I think that they work basically, they complement each other in many ways. And over the last decade or so, I would argue the space between academia or like academic research, what used to be called as academic research, and industrial research is sort of getting overlapped with each other, and you can see that happening on both ends of the spectrum. So I'll give you one example, right? For example, even though Amazon is a very industrial customer obsessed place, we still have many Amazon scholars, and we have a lot of interaction. I mean, Yongjun mentioned some interactions with some of the top universities in the world. So I would say that the differentiation is not that clear cut anymore, and I would expect it to become even less in the next prediction. But I think that said, the most important difference that I have noticed when it comes to a place like Amazon versus academic research places is that we are absolutely customer obsessed, right? So what that means is that the problems that we pick all the way to working backwards from that problem, all the way to we expect to kind of deliver on that problem, as well as the iterative aspect of it. They all are driven by the customer obsession. So I think that is the biggest difference that I have noticed, and the way that it reflects, in my opinion, in real world, like in our day-to-day life, is, in my opinion, the efficiency with which you can actually make the problem is much, in general, it's higher in a place like Amazon, than compared to academia. So could you guys hear me? I'm not sure I think my signal broke in the middle.
We had a little bit of break, but we were able to get you back, Raffay. So no worries. We did hear you. Yeah, it was just a couple quick little blips. No worries. You're good to go. Anybody else want to give some insight into that question?
So I can add some more details on top of Raffay's insightful explanations. So it is true, Prime Video actually starting the research programs with universities. Actually, we identify the challenging issues from our deployment, customer facing, and then work with universities, academic research. So it is really true that we have overlapping interest between academic research from professors and the Prime Video's business interest. And we are also always working backward from customers, finding the pain points, and then define a scope of research together with professors, research institutes, and then define some contract with them. So you may or may not know that we have multiple research contracts ongoing at the same time with different universities. And we have seen greater return of investment in the past several years. So that's ongoing efforts for Prime Video.
Wonderful, Yongjun, thank you. Where the questions are rolling in, everybody. So I think we're going to take maybe one, maybe two more. We'll see how far we get. This question is interesting. What technology or trend in the industry are you most interested in, regardless of work-related or not? Do I have any takers?
It's a broad question. I can take a swing at it. What trends in technology are we looking out for most?
Yeah, regardless if it's work-related for Prime Video, what are you most interested in, or what's the most exciting to you within the science community?
Got you. Yeah, I have plenty. So I will just mention two. I do think that these two are to watch out for. And I'm talking about it not just from a Prime Video perspective, but in general. One is more on the server side, and the other is on the edge side of it. I mentioned this, like, I think we are at an inflection point here in deep learning, where our traditional models have been extremely label hungry, and given the size, the rate at which the data is exploding, like keeping up with that label demand with the traditional ways in which we've been training models is just not something that is feasible. Practically, it's just not feasible. And so the latest trend in using semi-supervised, self-supervised type of learning approaches at using very, very large scales of data is a big trend to watch out for. I think that is going to change things quite fundamentally. And the second one is the edge bit, right? I think that especially anything that has serious network latency issues or very strong interactivity, you can think about dialogical models, or even some of our use cases where because we have a global audience, we have to overcome these types of network bottlenecks, etc. So I think that moving the compute that the model requires towards the edge, whether it is an intermediate point or an actual device itself, is going to be a game-changing thing. So yeah, those are. I mean, there are many others, privacy, security, etc. But those are the two things that I personally am very interested in.
Awesome. Thank you, Raffay. We are getting close to time, everybody. I have a question, but it could be one that we dive into. So, Ali, I'm going to ask this of you and see if how we're able to answer this. I know that we're getting to time for the event. This sounds more kind of like getting an idea of the responsibility of roles. So, viewer asked, what is approximately the percentage across some of the main responsibilities, such as developing, researching, managing